Welcome back to part 5 of the best scale crawler series, where I answer the question of who makes the best 1/18 scale RC crawler. Now today's contenders are the HPI Venture 18 Toyota Hilux going up against the Hobby Plus CR18P EVO 2 rock van. Now I have dedicated videos on the exact setup of each truck, so if you want further details, I'll leave a link in the description where you can see everything I've done to upgrade both these trucks. So that's the trucks we're running today. The rock van going up against the Hilux. This will be quite an interesting battle, guys. So this truck here, just to give you a quick rundown, it is a brush setup sitting on portal axles, very good tires, going up against this straight axle truck from the HPI Toyota Hilux here. Straight axle truck, brushless system, long travel suspension, and a host of other upgrades. Now, I've featured trucks from all the major manufacturers in the 18 scale crawler segment, including FMS, Red Cat, Traxxas, and a host of others. So if you want to see how they performed on this crawler course, be sure to check out part 1 through 4 of this crawler series. This competition will be scored on a points-based system. You can check it out right here. 3 being the highest score, 0 being the lowest if that truck couldn't complete that specific section. Now with all that said, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into the action. Let's kick things off with this steep off-camber climb. Now you're going to need a good approach angle as well as excellent traction in order to get up this obstacle. So let's see what the rock van does. Promising start from the rock van. It took care of that first challenge with pretty much no issue. Now as for this next challenge here, it's going to be a good test of approach, breakover, traction, and power. So let's see what the rock van does through this next challenge here. Well, I have to say, I'm kind of impressed with this rock van. I expected it to struggle a lot more on that previous obstacle. But let's go ahead and check out the steering angle here as well as the flex. This truck has lots of travel and the steering angle is pretty good. Great start overall from the rock van. It was able to complete stage 1 of the course with relative ease. Now you're going to see just how different these two trucks are. So with this Hilux on this steep off-camber climb here, it has the same tendencies as the HPI Bronco. Now I don't want to spoil things too much for you, but these trucks seem to have the same issue. It struggles quite a lot to get up this climb, but let's see what it does here. I tried a number of different approaches both on and off camera just to see what the right line was for this truck, and it struggled with each and every one of them. Now I'm going to keep trying here, but if it's not able to make this climb, we're going to have to skip ahead to the next stage. That first climb is not to be underestimated. I've seen plenty of trucks struggle to get it done. The Hilux is no different, so as a result, it's going to need a hand from me to move on to the next obstacle. One interesting thing that I observed while driving this truck is it didn't quite have enough clearance with these relatively small tires, so I needed to reverse to carry a bit of momentum, but there's a lot of drivetrain slop. Brushless system does have a lot of power and control, however that drivetrain slop is kind of off-putting. Nonetheless, let's check the steering angle here as well as the flex. Hilux was able to complete stage 1 of the course even though it had a much harder time doing it. Let's transition back to the rock van here on stage 2, where this will be a good test of the steering angle, the clearance, the control, and the stability of both trucks. So let's watch what the rock van does here. Rock van and the Hilux have the same size tires, however, this truck sits on portal axles, so it'll be interesting to see how these two trucks differ getting across this brick as well as the transition onto this big rock. Not a bad result overall from the rot van. It had good enough clearance, good enough control from the brush system, and it's not top heavy. So let's see how the Hilux does through this section here. It's a straight axle truck, but it's brushless, so the control should be a lot better. Let's see. This truck does struggle a little bit more to get those axles cleared. However, the brushless system offers excellent slow speed control. Let's transition onto this big rock here and finish up stage 1. We're going to add some points to the points list here to see how the trucks are doing as we transition into stage 2 of the crawler course. This section of the course is a good test of the breakover angle as well as the overall control that each truck offers. So let's see what the Hilux does, and then we're going to compare it to the rot van. Not a bad result overall from the Hilux. It did struggle initially to clear those lower rear links. Nonetheless, a little bit of power got the job done. So we're going to transition out here to the rot van to see how it handles stage 2 of the crawl course. Good result overall from the rot van. It got the job done a little bit easier than the Hilux, but let's flip around here where this will be a good test of the clearances on those portal axles. Not a bad result from the rot van. It's been pretty consistent so far, even though it had to earn that initial climb, but it got the job done nonetheless. So let's see how the Hilux does. Both trucks had a bit of issue getting those axles cleared. Nonetheless, they got the job done. So let's add some points to the points list as we enter into the bonus gate. This is the final set of challenges where each truck's approach, breakover, steering angle, and traction will be tested. So if they're able to complete this section, they'll receive an extra 3 points, which may make the difference on the score list. So let's see what they do. This rot van surprised me with its consistency throughout this course. Now it's not without its issues. That front bumper sticks out quite a lot, but it does have the steering angle to give it options. Now those portal axles do get hung up every now and then, but the traction is good and the power is good as well. So we're going to wrap things up on this final section here and compare it to the Hilux. Good performance overall from the rot van. It did get the course completed, so it will be receiving those 3 extra points. Now this is the Hilux's final chance to do something great here, so let's see what the Hilux does through this final section. So to summarize the Hilux's performance throughout this competition, starting with the strengths. That 3S brushless system has a lot of power, and that long travel suspension does come in clutch when those smaller tires don't quite have the reach. Now the truck also has pretty good steering angle, and the overall stability of the truck is pretty good. As for the negatives on this truck, the straight axle setup along with those lower rear links and the insufficient traction causes a lot of issues with this truck. So overall, I have to give the victory to the Rock Van. It was a lot more consistent. It had a lot less issues. So that's the result of part 5 of this competition. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Get subscribed for more cool content. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.